everybody, home stretch. Now, you lucky folks, so not only do you get a gold star for sticking around to the end, but you also get the joy of looking at some of the projects that's coming up over the next 12 months. There's some really special things in the pike that I'm very, very proud of. We're beginning to see a lot of what was talked about today come to fruition. Last year was a phenomenal year, as Diane recapped earlier, but this year is going to be even better, I think, in a lot of ways. So let's kick this off. Would have learned this by now, you would think. So first off, why do we have beer here?
I want to talk.
Chris is calling an audible.
We're going to talk.
All right, hold on 1 second.
You're fine. Speak.
So, beer, I love it, personally. Number one, you can tell. But two, the data suggests that people that drink beer, especially craft beer, tend to be more educated, more affluent, spend more on travel. So this is a target audience we've wanted to go after for a while. We haven't been able to. When I came to Myrtle Beach in 2001, we have one brewery that's still standing, New South. But we have a lot more than that today. We're going to talk about that. But today we're going to announce some fun stuff. A beer trail that's coming to Myrtle Beach. Chris apparently wants to talk about it.
Hey, so obviously I've been standing back here clicking slides all today. I decided I want to come up and just say something because this has been a passion project of both of ours, Stewart and I. I think we both enjoy a craft brewer or two, and thanks to Grand Strand and Tidal Creek who had the beers that you guys are drinking today. But we're really excited to launch this beer trail because it's an opportunity to share the culture of the beach. It's not just about the 10 breweries that are here. It's about all the fun things that you can do at those breweries. Over time, breweries have really become an experience that is family friendly. I take my kids on vacations all over, and my kids now know to ask, "Hey, Dad, what brewery are we going to go to?" And they know that because it's a fun place where they know games are going to happen, and there's going to be lots of things going on, live music, all the fun stuff about being on vacation. And so we saw this as an opportunity to just promote that part of the Grand Strand, and it helps elevate our brand in a way. It kind of beer drinkers or craft brew drinkers tend to be a more affluent audience, and so we just wanted to take an opportunity to promote all those things. So all the fun games, all the live music, all the food, obviously, great culinary things that we have here, and just all the colorful characters and the scene around beer in this town. So starting, next week, this same time, actually, next week, an hour from now, next week, Thursday on the 18th at 4:30, come join us over at Grand Strand Brewery. We're going to do a launch event for the Brew Trail, and at that time, you'll be able to, start to get some of the swag, the fun part about the Brew Trail as you go around town, check into different locations around town. There's 10 different breweries, all the way from Ocean Isle Beach, up in Mackay Brewery, all the way down to Myrtle Beach, North Myrtle Beach, Polly's, Merle's, all the way down to Georgetown. So it's been a great opportunity for us to work with people from across the Grand Strand, and we're just really excited to share it. We hope that you guys will come and check it out, and there will be a digital pass and a printed guide too to help you get around town and just sample all the things. So please, scan here, sign up to attend, and hopefully we'll see you next Thursday. So that's all for me.
Thank you, Chris. Cheers to that, right? Cheers. It's great. Following up on the success of the Arts and Gallery Trail last year, Diane said earlier, we've had folks that have completed all 114 stops along that Arts Trail. We hope that people will complete all 10 stops. One of the things about beer drinkers, not only do they spend more, they're more affluent, but they also share more. They talk about it. They talk to their friends. They look for experiences, and they'll travel to multiple areas. One of the things we love to do is talk about all our 14 communities and all the neighborhoods within them. This will really get people moving around the Grand Strand in a meaningful way. We're kicking off at Grand Strand Brewing in downtown Myrtle Beach because that is our front porch. But we really, really hope that people are going to spread out and go all the way to North Carolina down to Georgetown with this. 10 breweries is impressive. We feel like that's critical mass. And there's a lot of supplementary opportunities around that. You can take tours. There's the Big Red Bus. There's other things you can do around it. But it's a great culture, family friendly like Chris said. So we're excited to kick that off. That's why we thought we'd have some fun with the local beer today. So switching gears a little bit, just want to talk a little bit about what we've learned today and where we're heading. 32 is the new 24. You guys, especially if you have kids, know that multitasking is innate in those folks, right? They're watching TV, they're on their phone, they're on their switches, they're doing multiple things. Latest data suggests that people are cramming in 32 hours of stuff in 24 hours. That means they are multitasking. To Adam's point earlier, they're listening to podcasts while they're doing the laundry or while they're exercising. So we know that the media landscape is fragmented. We know that people's attention is smaller. We know that it's harder to reach them. So we know we have to differentiate ourselves. We know we have to be more provocative. We know we have to be more risky. We know we have to be more entertaining. And we know we need to be in more places. It's the only way we can continue to communicate with people. We're also in this weird sort of situation where the desire to travel is still pretty high. We saw Aaron from MMGY earlier today talking about the traveler sentiment. It's near record highs. It took a dip last year, but it's on its rise back up. Within 6 months, if the economy stays, it's going to be near record highs. 98% of people say they want to take a trip in the next 12 months. A lot of people say they want to travel to Myrtle Beach, which is great. But we also know there's pressures. There's pressure from the economy. There's pressure from uncertainty and disruption, wars, technology, things like that. So we've got these sort of competing things. People want to travel, but they're not quite sure if they should right now. At least they shouldn't pull the trigger. So we're seeing this affect us a lot in the form of a shorter booking window. People are waiting longer to make a decision to take a trip, which goes against what we're trying to do with the book earlier, stay longer, spend more. So how do we compete against that? Well, we got to be a little smarter. We got to build deeper relationships with people so that when they do make those decisions, they're committed to Myrtle Beach as a destination to travel to. We know that the volatility of the weather is going to affect us more and more as this booking window shrinks. That's what really hurt us this spring. But despite all that, we do think that this summer is going to be great. And keep in mind, we're off the back of our best 2 years in the history of the Grand Strand, both in RevPAR, tax collection, across the board. Deployments 2021 and 2022 are our greatest ever. So what we've got to do is hold the line as a destination and say, even if things look a little bit worse this year than last year from an occupancy perspective, let's hold our rate. Let's hold the line. The worst thing we can do is drop rate now back to 2019 levels. We've made so much ground since 2019. If we drop our rate, we're going to have to drop our service. If we drop our service, we're going to see a drop in our TripAdvisor scores, which are phenomenal right now. And if we drop in our TripAdvisor scores and the customer experience, people are not going to want to come to Myrtle Beach. We have to maintain the rate. We have to hold the line. Tell everyone you know, hold the line. Because if we don't, we're going to spiral, and it's going to be catastrophic. So my message to you is demand is strong. Be brave. Look at that straight in the eye and say, I'm going to hold that line. It's okay to drop a little bit here and there when it's needed. But you're going to have to be more aggressive at advertising. You're going to have to reach people more. You have to go hunting versus gathering. That's the reality we live in. We can help you if you need help, if you're soft in certain points, if you're seeing stuff in the market, come talk to us. That's what we're here for. We want to raise all boats. We can help you individually through some of our programs, and we'd love to help you. So just a message of caution there, I guess, is what that is. Despite all that, we're still number one. TripAdvisor just this week came out with their demand metrics. The number of people searching for summer destination vacations. Myrtle Beach is the number one beach destination in the country. Ahead of Miami, ahead of Virginia Beach, ahead of Ocean City, all of them. Ahead of Honolulu. We're number one. The only destination that's got more search demand than Myrtle Beach right now for summer destinations is Orlando, Florida. Until we get Mickey here, we're probably not going to compete with that, right? So I know that some people running for president might be trying to work on that right now. We'll see. So we're doing well. So let's keep the optimism going. Let's keep the communication going. Let's learn from each other. But let's continue to hold the line. We see ourselves as stewards. We talked a lot about what's happening right now, but we're also keeping a long-term view of where the beach is going as a complete destination. Hats off to North Myrtle Beach. They led the way last year. North Myrtle Beach Chamber of Commerce. They hired Next Factor from MMGY to do a study, a stewardship study, a long-term strategic plan study. And we loved what they were doing. And we said, you know what, that would be great if we had that for the whole Grand Strand, not just for North Myrtle Beach. It's important that we did it for North Myrtle Beach. We learned a lot. But what's different in Georgetown and Pawleys Island and Surfside and Garden City and Conway in downtown Myrtle Beach? So we have hired Next Factor MMGY to do the same kind of a stewardship study for us, to look 10 years down the line. What are our threats? What are our opportunities? What do we need? We're engaging hundreds of people around the Grand Strand. And we want to involve you too. This is an important project. So June 8th and 9th, we're going to be conducting focus groups. If you're interested in being a part of that conversation, please reach out to jen.brunson@visitmyrtlebeach.com, or any of us, anyone at Visit Myrtle Beach team. We would love to hear your feedback. If you're part of this community, if you're part of this economy, we want to hear from you. We want to know what you see, what you hear, what you think about the future of our economy. We think a lot about things like sustainability that have been talked about. What can we do to protect our beaches? What can we do to attract people that share our values? So that's going to be a fun project. And speaking of stewardship and sustainability, we want to become the market leader in EV in our area. We've commissioned a study from a grant from Santee Cooper. We're working with Arrivalists to analyze traffic patterns around the Grand Strand to look at not just what is our current EV infrastructure. 13% of vehicles that are coming to the Grand Strand right now are EVs. We know it's important, we know it's growing, we know it's the future. How do we best prepare for the future? Well, the Chamber of Commerce is stepping up. We're installing 2 EV chargers at our visitor center on Oak Street, free of charge to the public. So anyone wants to come get information about Myrtle Beach, you can come right there and get your vehicle charged. But we're also looking at what are the opportunities? Where are people traveling? How are they getting there? What are the EV deserts? What's our opportunity? So we're going to map that out, and we're going to share it with the public. And we're going to say, if you're a business in this desert zone, we encourage you to look for grants, to look for incentive money, and to install EV chargers. We believe that in the future, this is going to be the majority of travel. And so we've got to prepare for it, because 97% of people still drive to the beach. If they're in EVs, we've got to be ready for that. So we're building that future today. So we talked a lot today about some fun new stuff, technology, storytelling, those kind of things. And one of the things I heard from the community last year, because we were doing all this fun stuff like Chef Swap at the Beach and this content, some people started to push back and say, well, are we doing too much too soon, too experimental? Are we doing that at the expense of other stuff? I want to reassure you that we are being good stewards of our budgets too. 77% of the money we spend is going directly into advertising, promotion, direct call to action promotion. A wonderful team at MMGY shepherd that for us phenomenally. I'll talk a little bit about that strategy in a second, but 77% of the budget is still going to direct traditional digital marketing. It's funny to say traditional digital marketing, but you know what I mean. 10% is going to content and 10% to earned media, which is PR. And then another 3% is going to infrastructure. That's things like software, research, data, things like that. So Adam is 100% right. Media is becoming more expensive. It's getting harder. I talked about that a lot last year, which is why we're going down the path we are. But it's still king. It's still what's driving the engine. So we've got to make sure we don't take our foot off the accelerator when it comes to paid media. So we're going to continue to do that. We'll ratchet it slowly and cautiously, because we don't want to disrupt what's obviously working. We're number one in the country. We want to continue that. So this, I showed you at the beginning, this is our strategy. You know, we think about, or this is our framework, our foundation for our cathedrals. We think a lot about strategy. We think a lot about creativity. We think a lot about technology and data, and we think about the partnerships and the collaboration. So when we're thinking about this stuff, I want to dig into a couple of these a little bit more. So when I think about strategy, again, hats off to our friends at MMGY for being our agency of record, being the host presenters of today, and for helping us with strategy and creative and a lot of other stuff. You know, we work with a lot of agencies, but they often lead the charge in a lot of our projects. We think that paid media and owned media work together to drive a flywheel. That flywheel includes earned media, so people talking about us in the media, but it also earns audience, which Adam talked a lot about, and then it earns mentions and comments and engagements and things like that. And that just builds on itself. So we're going to be doing a lot of that over the next year. When we're thinking about strategy, we want to think about the consumer. We want to think about how do we get the hearts and the minds of the consumer on our side? How do we become a lifestyle brand? How do we be in their life 24/7, 365? Not just when they're at the beach, but all the time. We want to infiltrate their dreams in a good way, I promise. But we want to make sure that they're thinking about us and they're talking about us. That's the strategy. That's why we built the CDP. It means that we have more data on people. We have more information on what they like and don't like, and it means we can have conversations with them, which is really important, because people don't want to be treated like users. They want to be treated like a human being. They have human experiences Let's start talking about them like humans. That's why we've laid the infrastructure. Technology, you heard today from Ed and some others about AI and how transformative it may be in the very not too distant future. Ed is 100% right, which I don't say very often, so keep that one, Ed. When he says, it's not going to fundamentally change your life today, and it's not going to replace you today, but smart people who use it will, and that'll be here sooner than you realize. Once it's integrated in Copilot in Microsoft, which is, I guess, the new Clippy, for those of you that are older than 40, it's going to fundamentally change our workflow. So everyone in your organization needs to be experimenting with ChatGPT, with Bard, with other generative AI technology. If you're paying attention, this feels different. This feels different than blockchain. This feels different than other technologies that have come and gone. The news, the mainstream media is talking about this a lot more, in a lot more serious way. The nightly news on NBC every night has a section on AI and how it's disrupting society. 12 months from now, when we stand here, we're going to be having a whole different conversation about AI. The acceleration of that technology is like nothing we have ever seen. The adoption is like nothing we've ever seen. I am not understating it when I say this is going to disrupt humanity more than any technology before it. More than the Industrial Revolution, more than the internet, more than digital, more than mobile. This is going to be transformative. And if you don't think you're going to be using it soon, you will be. My wife is a preschool teacher, and she looked at me a few weeks ago and said, I'm not going to use AI. I don't need it. I teach kids. Why do I need the AI? So I started asking her some of the tasks that she performs. She sends a lot of letters out to parents. She has to deal with a lot of situations with parents. Let's just say she has, the kids are the least problematic out of her constituents, right? Parents come to her with some complex decision making, you know? She tries to take in everything into consideration. I said, try feeding it to ChatGPT and see what it recommends. And what I've learned is I get a lot fewer texts than I used to, because it used to be, she had a hashtag, what would Steward do? It was WWSD, what would Steward do? She'd ask me advice. Hey, this is the situation, what should I do? She started using ChatGPT instead of me. I've been replaced. So, yeah, what would Chat do? So it's coming fast. And it's not going to be in a way where you're going to have to go to ChatGPT and do stuff. It's going to be integrated into Microsoft. It's going to be integrated into Outlook. It's going to be integrated into your phones and every technology you use. You know, it's made, in the last 6 months since we've started hearing about ChatGPT, it's made Siri and Alexa look dumb, right? They look like first graders compared to some of the sophistication that we're seeing. 2 years ago, we couldn't believe that technology. It was unreal. We'd never seen anything like it. So this is disruptive. We're investing in this. We're making sure that our team is investing time in this. They're understanding it. Our content army is not going to be replaced. We are not going to shrink the 25 content army. We're probably going to grow it. But you better believe that every one of those 25 is going to be using AI this time next year. Our staff already is. It's how we generate ideas. It's how we solve problems. It's how we do mundane tasks. And it should be you too. It's the number one tab on my browser now. Use it every day. But there are other technologies we're investing in. Our CDP, our infrastructure. Technology is the foundation of what we're doing. Creativity. Another shout out to MMGY, our creative agency of record. They do a phenomenal job making all the things we do look brilliant and beautiful. But creativity goes beyond the aesthetic. It's also about the ideas, the disruption, the things you can do that no one else has seen before that make them stop and pay attention to you. Ideas are the currency that we're trading in right now. So creativity is, I can't understate how important it is. Get creative people around you. You're going to solve bigger problems. ChatGPT should be part of that creativity too. The other part of creativity is telling a story. I talked earlier when Stand Up to Cancer was on stage about people, passion, and purpose. That's what story is about. Telling a story isn't, come to Myrtle Beach, we have 2,000 restaurants, a bunch of great hotels, some amazing attractions, and 60 miles of beaches. That's not a story, that's a promotion. We need to tell stories about people, about passion, about purpose. We're not the hero of the story, we're the storytellers, we're the guides in the story. So we need to connect with the people that are the story. The heroes of the story are the people that live here and have interesting lives and interesting stories to tell. The visitors that come here and the memories they create. Story is about human experience. That's the stories we're going to be telling more and more. Most DMOs are so behind on this. Every DMO conference I go to, someone gladly stands on stage and says, this is the latest, greatest video we've done, and it's exactly the same. It's happy people riding something. It's either a horse or a bike or a jet ski, right? Someone's always riding something in every DMO video. I don't know why. And they're smiling, and then at the end there's some happy tagline. And it's fine, it's good, but you could replace the tagline and the logo at the end, and it's the same. Everyone's just the same. They're generic, they're not interesting, they're not telling a story, they're not reaching and connecting with people, which is what we have to do as storytellers. It's an important part of our job. Data is the other part of the foundation. And we've been working a lot on data over the last couple of years. You guys know I'm a nerd. Professor X is what Ed calls me sometimes. I love data. It's a cornerstone of what we do. We've developed a couple of new things this year that I'm about to call Anna up on stage to talk about. But I want to say we're working on some projects that are going to be revolutionary for this destination. We're working on a universal scorecard, which is going to give anyone in the market insight into the performance we're doing. It's going to give us, our teams, our agencies, the ability to see cause and effect between what we're doing and how we're driving results. That's going to hopefully come out in version 1 later this year. We're doing a lot with data, but I want to invite Anna from Lucky up onto the stage real quick to talk about one of these projects we're working on. We think a lot about the concept of the path to predictive, and what we mean by that is, how do we see what the future holds? How can we make assumptions about the present to infer what's going to happen tomorrow? And then how do we know what to do about that? So Anna, come on up and show off a little bit.
All right. I'm glad everyone had some alcohol before I came on stage. So I am Anna Gardner. I come from Lucky & Company, which is the analytics agency for Myrtle Beach. So we really work in tandem with all the other agencies, as you kind of saw that journey that Stewart shared, how we kind of work in the center of everything, because we want to, our biggest charge is allowing everyone we work with for Myrtle Beach to be able to make data-driven decisions. And so I'm going to jump into our most, to me, exciting, but really, as Stewart can agree, disruptive, groundbreaking project that we've been working on, which is a part of our journey of the path to predictive. So let's talk about the fear of the unknown. Our path to predictive is rooted in a seemingly simple but kind of complex and problem-solving North Star, which is the fear of the unknown. When we have something happen to us, we are looking at the problem of what happened and reacting based on retrospect. We're looking backwards instead of forwards, and we don't feel like we necessarily know exactly what we can predict for the future. So instead, we're looking at decision making as we have confidence in the present for the future, instead of looking towards the past to have some uncertainty about how we make decisions in the present. So as that relates to what we're doing for Myrtle Beach, is it brought the idea of predictive and the fear of the unknown really allowed us to ask the question, the biggest question that we have unknown in destination is how can we predict occupancy? It's kind of a big question. And there's a lot of factors that go into it. And the reason we want to know this is, as Stewart was saying, to give confidence to, say, hoteliers, to where they feel confident in not having to lower their rates because they understand what bookings will look like or occupancy will look like in months ahead. And so we ultimately want to provide data that allows our stakeholders, everyone in this room, to have confidence about the decisions they're making. So, how do we create certainty? Ultimately, it is creating a tool or tools that allow us to make informed decisions. So in this case, we are equipping ourselves with understanding the inputs that affect our business, how they have a relationship with our business. So we're looking at things like gas prices, economic factors, what's happening in society from a political stance, what's happening environmentally, as Stewart was saying, regarding weather. How do these small and big items affect our business, and how can it allow us to make better decisions going forward? So with all of that, I want to show you our first predictive model that we showed in Q1. This is Q1 of 2022, and we shared this with Stewart and team as a retrospect in Q2. So I know this is a lot of lines and all of that and numbers, and so what I want you to focus on are the two red lines. When we see those two red lines, that just means if we're in between them, we're doing good. That means the model is doing what it's supposed to be doing. The blue line is what we forecasted was going to happen in Q1. And then the black line is what actually happened. And so I'm not gonna lie, that looks pretty good for a first round. You see how those lines follow really tightly. And so this was just the first iteration of the model. And what's great about that is our model just gets smarter. It gets better with time. And so we refresh this model and we revisit this model every quarter. So we just finished with Stewart reflecting on Q1 as the start of Q2 began. And so what you're looking at here is the looking towards the future, the predictive model of what Q2 we're expecting to see. So how you can look at this is the red lines is between there is where we want to be. The yellow line is what we're forecasting will happen. And then that kind of brownish black line is what happened in 2022 as a reference for you all. And what's important about this is by us fixing this and refreshing every quarter means that we can expand our horizon of what we can predict and how long we can predict. So in Q2 of 2022, we could give confidence to our stakeholders around occupancy for about 30 days. And now we're in a place where we feel incredibly confident about our model to where we're opening it up to a 90-day or a quarterly horizon. And so the exciting thing is we can only get better. And that's all I have, but I'm incredibly excited to chat about this at the happy hour, and I appreciate Stewart for having confidence in us.